Innovation ripping his way through the GSL in an incredible masterclass of macro play. He is completely untouchable and scintillating through this run. And I think what I find most interesting about this is this isn't one of those GSL runs where you get to face a weak guy in your group and then the guy in the round of 8 is the 4th best player. No. He's going through an absolute insane gauntlet the whole way through. This is what makes the run so exceptionally exciting and so impressive, because he's beaten Flash, he's beaten Life, the best pro gamer ever and the Zerg Bonjour of the time. He just embarrassed Roro last round. Roro was the defending GSL champion. Who did he beat? This guy, Symbol, who narrowly beat Innovation in the round of 8 of that very same GSL. Innovation looking for a measure of revenge here. And it's just so interesting to me that he also had to play Rain and Parting. It's just, you look at the run that this was, and you had an incredible culmination in this GSL where everyone was seeing what the best of the new styles were, because we know what people could do in Wings of Liberty, but there was still a lot to be undiscovered in Heart of the Swarm, and every time Innovation played, you sat there to yourself and it was like, wow, this guy is showing us the meta and how things are done, and he looks completely infallible. And last season when he lost, he was the heavy favorite and still looked better than everyone, even though it was Wings of Liberty and a very hard time for Terran. So even though this season has names like Flash, Innovation is riding in at the peak of his powers and showing everyone how it's done. And he does so with this grinding, methodical macro style where he gets a fast 3 bases, usually off of Hellions, and then it's as though the attacking never stops. Innovation continuously pummels his opponent, and he never misses depots or macro cycles, often employing a biomine approach. Innovation forces you to constantly make decisions and engage, while not missing macro cycles of your own, not missing injects, not missing overlords, while constantly dealing with pressure and having your creep abated. Now it's interesting to note that Innovation almost always 2-raxes on this map, but last game he 2-raxed. You should be watching these videos in order. Go ahead and leave me a like and share this vid with your StarCraft friends. But Innovation not 2-raxing this game, showing that he's not a robot and he doesn't play the same way on every map, doesn't do the same builds, because remember, the GSL is the best Korean tournament in the world, and part of why that is because they give their players time to prepare. They're not just playing 50 matches in a weekend. So Symbol has seen, when he was doing his research and VOD review for Innovation, he likes 2-racks on this map. And Innovation sort of feigning a bit of a 2-racks with the SCV behind the mineral line. Now I think if Symbol walks down and scouts that, Inno makes like a fake bunker and tries to get him to draw a bunch of drones down. But notice what build Inno did. He went command center first. He subverted expectations. This is something that intelligent players who are great in best of 5 and best of 3s do, where they understand how the build orders work and how they relate to each other within the context of a best of series. In other words, if you show someone a cheese in the previous game and you usually cheese on this map, a lot of Zergs would go, well shit, he's probably going to cheese on this map again. He's probably going to 2-racks again. He just 2-racks. He 2-racks in almost all of his games. And Inno says, no, I'm not going to 2-racks, I'm going to CC first, which is going to give him an economic advantage. And this is one thing that Inno did, was he would macro very cleanly, but he would always do macro heavy builds. And it was one of those things where as Zerg, you couldn't kill him with cheese, and you couldn't really catch him off guard because he would always go Hellions and scout around a lot. A player who always goes Hellions is very hard to catch off guard. If you play ladder as Zerg and you play aggressive Zerg, try doing Ling Bane all-ins into Hellions. You'll lose almost every game, because it's not that the Hellions are good against the Ling Bane, which they are. No, you'll lose because they'll see the Ling Bane coming. players who are poking around with Hellions maintain tempo and map control, and one of the last things you want to do against Zerg is let them run wild with drones and creep spread like crazy. And the first time you push out at 15 minutes, holy shit, there's creep at my front door and they have the whole map. Now notice that Innovation makes his third before he even starts his first two Hellions. This is an incredibly greedy build and gives him the biggest economic edge. And part of why he can delay his Hellions is he rushed out a wall and he has a bunker in that wall. So this is the importance of using walls and defense against Zerg. A lot of people, it's funny, it's like, oh, the one bunker will do. No, like, when you make that wall, it really limits what Zerg can do. Suddenly, like, unless Symbol commits to a really weird, like, shitty Baneling bust that is probably never going to hit at this time, nothing is going to be able to breach that wall. He can't, like, run links past it in pressure. And guess what? Now any threat of Baneling bust is gone because Inno's working into his 6 Hellions. This is like why Hellions are so good, is they scout for cheese. And a Roach Warren's coming down here for Symbol. He's getting a third, excuse me. And I remember at the end of Wings of Liberty, and for like the last year and a half of Wings of Liberty, Idra would always speak very highly of Symbol as like an intelligent macro Zerg with like an approach that he would try to emulate sometimes. And this is actually a move that Idra did against Kiwikaki in one of the first tournaments ever. I believe it was the IPL. Yes, it was the first ever IPL where Idra goes down 0-2, and then on Shakura's plateau, in order to force Kiwikaki to multitask, he goes drop. So this is one thing you can do whenever players either A, can't multitask like Idra thought Kiwikaki couldn't, or B, you do whenever people play like super aggro and always have their stuff across the map and don't necessarily have a lot of defense at home and will try to cut defensive corners. But this is also looks like sort of a mech buster build. So it's bio, as we see a bunch of barracks, but this was the counter to mech at the time. Remember, like the swarm host really isn't in vogue at this time. This isn't a response that has been figured out yet. This is definitely a Wings of Liberty build where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go roaches with drop. This was the old school the old school way that you beat mech. And frankly, it was shit. It's like you're dropping these terrible roaches on top of the tanks, almost just trying to get them to fucking friendly fire. And it's a very, very bizarre build, and a Nydus is going to come up here. So whenever we think about ways that you attack players who are way better than you, last game we saw like the cheesiest rush in StarCraft history, the 6-pool rush. And in game 1, it was a crushing macro game defeat for the Zerg, where if you're the Zerg, you're sitting there saying like, well, Jesus, like how am I ever going to win? As we see roaches walking in here, Innovation setting up mass bunker, and again, this is one of those situations where you look at Inno and it's like, how are you going to defend? Your barracks production just came online. You have 6 Hellions. The guy's just going to run at you with Roach Ling, and you can't just rely on Splash or SimCity because he has Nydus too. The idea here, this is a really cool build, is you run in here with mass dropper lords, drop everything, and then Nydus behind it, and just reinforce, like you have all your hatches rallied to your Nydus. And Innovation had so much defense at the front. We'll see how he defends this on the back. And he's trying to snipe the Overseers. Love the Overseers contaminating there. And Roachling being dropped on the Terran army as the Nydus isn't quite up yet. As Innovation scouted those Overlords coming in with his third. And thank God, because if he didn't, the Nydus would have been able to get up and the reinforcements would have been there immediately. But as it stands, the army sort of staggers in like bad Overwatch players. As Innovation's down to 47 workers, as we see he pulled his entire mineral line away and didn't really lose anything to that roach drop there. That's a really cute tactic whenever you're all-inning someone super hard in their main and you like drop their natural. A lot of players just won't pick up on that. But Inno's Gosu, and he did. And remember, when I said 47 workers, he hadn't started making workers for his third because he saw the all-in coming. He deduced there was an all-in because he scanned and saw roaches. And Innovation knows that like the other player is never gonna try to like make roaches to fight his freaking bio mine with Marauder style, like even like Roach Hydra just gets laughed the fuck out of the game. You have to go Mutiling Bling basically. So continued pressure here from Symbol as he's really all in. If you look at his third, he hasn't droned his third at all. It's literally just there for production. And he's going to do the classic attack in one spot, try to backdoor the other. Innovation has a plethora of units down here to defend his third, but notice he intelligently left units in his main, knowing that he would attempt to be Nydus. And this is sort of an awkward spot where you have to wheel way out to defend this third, even though it's like a weird pocket third. A lot of people, like, when they would go Mutal, like, would attack that third and then fly into the main. That was super common. Or, like, Warp Prism drop shit at the third and then fly into the main. But a lot of bunkers are up here for Inno. He has mines as well. Remember, the mines have a lot of pop. They're no joke, even against roaches. They're not just good against lings. Symbol really trying to make this roach all-in work, but whenever you have a player who's not afraid to go Marauders, it's very hard to force your way in with roaches. Innovation has started +2 attack, and most importantly has prevented any Nyduses from popping up in his main. That's really what Symbol was hoping to do, was pressure hard at the front and then get real damage done in the main, but between the Marauders and the mines, Symbol is just completely running out of steam. And if this was Legacy, you would just transform those stupid roaches into Ravagers and bile the shit out of their front door, and it would be sort of obnoxious. But as it stands, the Zerg player went for an all-in aggressive build and really can't transition. The Ravager gives the roach-making Zerg player the ability to transition out of a failed all-in much more easily, but as it stands, shitty roaches are shitty roaches, and Innovation scouts this big droopy drop, and he's moving everything to the main because he knows that the other player's Symbol is severely behind economy-wise, and he can just lift his third, lol. The only thing that he can't afford to happen is he can't, like, lose control of his main. Because look at this. This drop is going to shut down mining at the third. He knows that everything that Symbol makes is going to be thrown into the Nydus. He has nothing to defend that third base. He confirms and sees, yep, this is a complete all-in. There are no workers at that third. So all I have to do is not die. And guess what? Salvage exists, so Innovation's being intelligent, and he's going to try to focus fire down the dropperlords here. This is exactly how you want to defend this. Try to kill the dropperlords with the units in them. And notice that Symbol's trying to attack from the low ground. I guess this is a map-specific build, because there are almost no other maps where you could do that, pressure from the low ground as well. But really the crux of the issue is getting the Nydus up and getting these reinforcements in, and Innovation knows this. He's bringing back everything, and Symbol GG's. His Innovation killed the third and was killing the natural as well, so an all-in push put to the test there, and Symbol can't get it to work, and I'm sure he had a very good win rate with that push. And again, we see Zerg players getting very creative to trying to break Innovation in the mid-game. Right around that time when he's dropping mules at his third, adding his extra barracks and hitting his power trough, because once those barracks get going, he's really powerful. We saw that with the Roach Bane attack in Game 3 with Roro, and now Symbol's down 0-3, and it looks like there's no chance at all for him to ever win.